What do you do with all those pieces of your leftovers from backs of quilts? Now, these two boxes are stuffed full of cutoffs from backs of quilts. I finished 3 quilts this weekend and I ended up with more, and I went to put them in my box and I went, oh my goodness, they're full. So I need to sort this out and clean this out. Hi, I'm Roberta from Quilt Crafters Corner, and as a passionate quilter, I've experienced the joy of finding new ideas and techniques. I'm on a mission now to help you do the same. Find that joy and passion in your quilting. So let's talk about those leftover pieces that we have from our quilt backs. Now let's face it, we spent good money on that fabric, so we should probably finish using it up because it's not doing any good in that box over there. So let's talk about those unique pieces that we have that are left over from quilt backs and what we can do with them and how we can make them work together. So let's go over to the cutting table and let's talk about using up those leftovers from our quilt backs. Okay, so here we are at the table, and like I said, these are the new pieces that I just cut, and as you can see, there's some pretty big pieces, so I will put those in a pile all by themselves. Now these lovely little strips, if they're 2.5 inches, those are my favorite. Absolute favorite. I love them to pieces because I can cut these into 2.5-inch strips and I can use them for a ton of things. I can use them for binding. I could use them for framing up blocks. I could use them putting into blocks. There's so many things that I could do with this. Jelly roll race. Do a jelly roll race quilt. You know, all that is 2.5-inch strips all sewn together. It's a very simple way, and it's a great way to use up these bits of pieces of fabric. Now, if they're a little less than 2.5 inches, no worries. I don't throw those away. That goes into my scrap bin. And my scrap bins are sorted by colors. So I will put this in with the blues. And when I need scraps, that's the first place that I'll go to get scraps. Same with this. This is 2.5 inches. That's easily can be put into 2.5-inch strips. Anything like this is usually for borders. I'll use that for borders, or if it's big enough, I could use it for alternate blocks in a quilt. There's a number of things that I can do with that. Now I will put this in the red pile. And here's another beautiful piece of fabric. I just love this fabric. And as you can see, I had to make it a little longer, a little bigger for a back. So this piece, because it's nice and big and it's nice and wide, you know, that's better than 6.5 inches. I could get 6.5-inch blocks out of that. Easy. Very, very easy. So these are just going to go into a pile and by themselves. More 2.5-inch strips here. These are great. I can use these up in many things. Once again, 6.5-inch blocks I can get out of that. That's a great piece of fabric for that. Now I do have some smaller pieces. They must have just got thrown in here. Now these will go into my smaller scrap bins for when I'm doing just making scrappy type things. These will go in for that, and I'll put those off to the side. Now you can see I've got a lot of pieces here that are a little bit bigger. Now this is a probably, yeah, 14, I've got 14 inches there. That's easily, I could do a lot with that piece of fabric. And some of these pieces are even bigger. And so these pieces like this that were leftovers from backs, I'll measure these. And I have boxes that go from 1/4 yard to 1/2 yard, and then from 1/2 yard to full yard. And then that way, if I just need borders or bindings or alternate blocks or something like that, and I don't have anything that I can use for my other ones, I will be using something like this. And that will go into, these will get measured and put into boxes. Same with this piece and this piece. Oh look, see, I've already done that piece. I've already measured it. I know that needs to go into my 1/2 yard to my almost full yard, because that's almost a full yard of fabric right there that I could use for something. So that will get put into a box of full yards. Here's another piece that this was a back from. And once again, it's a nice big piece that I can use this. So once again, I'll measure that up and I'll be able to put that into my boxes where here's another piece, and this is a nice batik that can be easily, look, this is a nice big piece too. Once again, this is what, 18 inches. So this is the half yard right there. This is go into the half yard box. So these are some of the things that I've got sitting around in my stash, leftover. You can see these are all cut off from the sides of quilts, from the backs when I used it for a back on a quilt. So these are all things that I can still use. So what I want to do is I want to sort them into colors so that I can get them into piles where I can see what I have and then start pulling contrasts. I can pull yellows and blues together. I can put yellows and blues together, or I can even put maybe some pinks and greens together. That would be really pretty. There's many things to do with these, so don't just leave them in the box. Let's get them to the point where we can start to develop ideas and things that we can do with these scraps. Now let me show you what I did. This is my green box, and this is the box that I've already sorted out, and some of these were backs and some of these were just extra pieces of fabric that I had. And so this is the sort from my green box, and these were all, some of these were backs. This was a back, this was a back, this was a back. Yeah, so some of these were backs, and so now I've got them sorted into greens, and this way they're a little bit more usable. I can take them and I can do something with them. So these are some of the experimenting ideas. This was something I was working on, curve piecing. And these can all be put together and start to work out into either a landscape quilt or something like that. These are all very usable pieces of fabric. And here's a circle that I've done. And these are leftovers from another project that are in there. But once again, you can see this is, all of these fabrics can easily be put into something like this to put together. Here's another piece. This is a leaf block that I did. I did a whole bunch of these with these strips, and then just put the center leaf in the vein in the center, and then framed them up. Real simple idea. These are all things that you can do with these leftovers. I just want to give you some ideas to start thinking about and start, well, what can I do with this, type of thing, instead of having to go buy fabric from a line to go and do a particular pattern. Take some of these ideas, take some of these scraps that you've got, and let's play with them. Let's have some fun with them. Let's do something interesting and unique with them. Here's a couple more of the scrappy ones. And once again, these are all scraps. You saw some of that. That was over there. And some of this, and that one. These are all scraps left over from backs that I just started putting together. It's a simple, easy block to do, and I just put them together, and this makes a really nice scrappy quilt. And as you can see, it makes this nice little pinwheel thing here. So yeah, these are all great ideas to use up those backing pieces that you've got left over that have just been hanging around going, okay, what do I do with these? These are all pieces that can be used, and because they don't belong in this box, they need to be used. So as you can see, I have quite a bit of leftovers cut off from my quilt backs. And once I get them sorted and get them into colors and sizes, that I can determine how I can use them. So let's talk about color for a little bit. When I talk about color, I was pretty general there. I was talking about the blues, the reds, the greens, all the primary colors. But there's so much depth to color, especially when it comes to tones and hues and the value of color and how we can use it to make our quilts a little bit more exciting. The brighter colors are always very vibrant and they really stand out, where the muted colors are a little bit more dull and in the background, and they don't really emphasize anything, but they do make what they're around stand out a little bit better. So I want you to think about color as you're sorting these and what colors would go together really well, and start playing with those as you're sorting your fabric so that you can get an idea of how to put these colors together. So in the next video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about color and values and tones and hues and all those things that everybody gets very confused by. But I want to make it simple and clear for you so that you can see what you have. So I want you to look at your fabric a little differently. Start to sort it, because once you start sorting it, you see what you have. And once you see what you have, you can start putting things together and see what you like, because what you like is going to be different than everybody else. What I like is going to be different than what you like. And I want to encourage you to play with the colors. Use the colors so that they stand out, they're more vibrant, or maybe they're in the background and they make everything else look good. So that's what I have for you today. I can't wait to do that next video for you on how to use your colors to your advantage. All right, so I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me.